What is up, everyone? It's your girl, Fly Girl Nina, and welcome back to Fly Girl Bartending. Today we'll be learning how to rim a cocktail glass in 2 easy steps. So let's just jump right in. The most common rims used for rimming cocktail glasses are sugar, salt, and tahini. Sugar. White granulated sugar is the most popular, but you can honestly use any type of sugar. It really just depends on what the cocktail calls for. Salt. Salt is 99% of the time only really used for margaritas. And margaritas are one of the most popular cocktails all around the world. Super important tip. When it comes to salt, you want to make sure that you're using coarse salt and not table salt. If you use table salt, the drink is probably going to taste like you're having a mouthful of salt, which is very gross, and we don't want that. Tahini. So I live in Southern California, so tahini is a very popular alternative to salt when you're rimming a margarita. And for those of you that don't know what tahini is basically like a Mexican blend of salt and dried chili flakes. And it could also add a nice savory flavor to a cocktail. There are 2 main ways that you can get the rimming ingredient to stick to the cocktail glass. You can use citrus juices or syrup. Citrus is the more common option out of the 2, simply because it gets the job done and it's less messy. This is also my preferred method. The main downside to using syrup instead of citrus juices is that it is more likely to drip back down the glass. Therefore, when you go in to grab your cocktail, you may get some sticky syrup on your fingers. I don't know about y'all, but I personally don't like having sticky fingers. Now, there is a way you can lessen the amount of drippy syrup when you rim the cocktail glass with it, and that's by using one of those culinary brushes. But to be honest, I don't know many bars that have that kind of object just available to you behind the bar. And just like tahini, chamoy is another popular flavorful Mexican ingredient used a lot as an alternative to rimming a glass for a margarita. And usually you'll see chamoy and tahini paired together on a margarita. As much as I wish every bar had chamoy and tahini, you'll definitely see those in bars that specialize in agave spirits like tequila and mezcal. But there's no guarantee that every single bar around the world is going to have chamoy and tahini. But at least in Southern California, it's very popular. Finally, we're getting into the technique. So behind the bar, 95% of the time, you will see one of those classic black cocktail rimming stations. And those rimming stations usually have a couple different compartments, one for the juice, and then there's 2 more, one for sugar and one for salt. But I mean, in a pinch, if you don't have that, then you could always use plates or some other type of dish, as long as it can contain the sugar, salt, lime juice, then you're chilling. Basically, to rim a cocktail glass, you want to have at least 2 plates, one of them with the liquid sticky ingredient like citrus juice or syrup, and then on the other plate, you want to have your sugar, your salt, or your tahini. Now, this is incredibly simple. Basically, you want to take your glass and dip it in the sticky ingredient, and then dip it into the solid ingredient, and then your cocktail has been rimmed. And that's pretty much it. It's very simple, straight to the point. You could probably get it done in less than 10 seconds. If you don't get it done in less than 10 seconds, then I worry about you a little bit. Here are some quick tips. There are 2 main techniques on how you should hold the glass when you are rimming a cocktail. For the first technique, we want to focus on making sure the rim stays on the outside of the cocktail glass. Technically, this is the proper way on how to rim a cocktail glass. And the reason why we're aiming for the rim to be on the outside of the glass is because we don't want the rim ingredients to fall into the cocktail. This is especially important for cocktails like margaritas that have a salt rim. For those types of cocktails, the main reason why we put salt on the rim in the first place is because the minimal amount of salt is actually meant to enhance the cocktail. Just like when you flavor chicken with salt and pepper or something, you just add a little bit to enhance the flavor a little bit more of the chicken. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm just using that as an example. So similarly, for margaritas, we do have salted rim because the salt is actually supposed to help enhance the other citrus flavors of the margarita. But it ain't supposed to make the margarita taste like salt. It's just that touch of salt that's necessary. So by rimming the salt only on the outside of the cocktail glass, that means it's less likely to fall into the cocktail. So the way you want to hold the glass is by holding it at a 45 or even a 90-degree angle Honestly, whatever works, whatever feels more comfortable. But you don't want to hold the glass vertically into the salt. And on the opposite spectrum, the second technique on how to hold the glass is vertically. I personally think that using this method makes the rim of the cocktail look a little bit more even and polished, and it's far faster to do in comparison to holding the cocktail glass at an angle, like I said in the last example. And ultimately, most people are larger fans of getting extra sugar in their cocktail versus extra salt in their cocktail. So when it comes to using both techniques, this is my rule of thumb. If it's a salted rim, hold the glass at an angle. If it's a sugar rim, just do it vertically. And if the rim is tahini and chamoy, most of the time people want that combination, so they don't mind you putting a little extra. Like, it's rare for them to be like, I want tahini and chamoy, but like only like a little bit. Like, nah. Usually they're like, add hella. At least that's how I am. And at the end of rimming any cocktail, I like to hover the glass over the rimming station and then give it a couple taps to allow the excess salt or sugar to just fall off. Okay, so now, super quick recap. All you gotta do is grab a glass, rim it with the liquid ingredient, rim it with the solid ingredient, give it a couple taps, and you have now successfully rimmed your cocktail glass. If you're just starting bartending, you definitely need to know how to make a margarita, as well as all the different types of margaritas. So I have links in the description for videos that teach you all the different popular versions of margarita recipes that you definitely need to know. With all that being said, I hope that this video has been helpful, especially if you've made it all the way to the end. Thank you very much for sticking with me. I know this video may sound like super technical for something that is literally like takes less than 10 seconds to make. I just want to set you guys up for success behind the bar. I will see you guys next time on Flag or Bartending. Stay flat.